So many years of catastrophe, more than 6 million refugees. It could be you and your family, forced from your home and your history.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
Hello, and welcome to Palestine Today. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and this program, Palestine Today, is dedicated to news about Palestine. My co-host, Harry Fear, is normally in Gaza, but he isn't here today because why? He's stuck at the Gaza border. And we expect these kind of things to happen, actually, when you have a host who is located in Palestine, in Gaza, in the Middle East. So this is to be expected. Anyway, we want to give a heartfelt thanks to Harry and hope that all works out perfectly for him. Let me tell you something about Palestine Today for those who are listening to the show for the first time. This show, Palestine Today, is about Palestine and is about Palestinians. And we bring you the unfiltered truth where you would get nowhere else in the mainstream media in the West. In fact, I think there are only two other programs in the West, KPFK, Don Bastante's program, and KZYX, which is Jeff Blankford's program in Mendocino County. Those are the only two other programs on the radio where you will get the unfiltered truth about Palestinians on the radio in the West. And then us here at KCAA. KCAA, we bring you the truth about Palestinians and Palestine. So, as I said before, because we're able to bring you the unfiltered truth, we need donations from the public, from those who appreciate the show. You can go to my website, the KathleenWellsShow.com, and punch on Palestine Today, donate, and make a donation. And the reason why we have to ask for the public for donations is because despite the fact that we do have sponsors, our sponsors have only sponsored a limited amount of shows. A finite number of shows. So we need you, if you appreciate the show, if you appreciate this information, please consider making a donation. No matter how small, we appreciate it so that we can keep this show on the air. We have to pay for our airtime. Unlike other corporately owned radio shows, we have to pay for our airtime. And so your donation goes towards keeping the show Palestine Today on the air. In our first segment, we're going to be joined by Palestinian-American Susan Abulhawa. She's a Palestinian-American. She's an activist. She's an author. She has dedicated herself to the issue regarding Palestinian rights. In our second segment, we'll be joined by Hesham, I hope I'm pronouncing his name, Hesham Haggag Amin, an Egyptian who's going to talk about the ramifications for the Gaza border now that President Morsi has been ousted from the presidency. That's our second segment. So, I also want to mention that our weekly show, Palestine Today, is sponsored by the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs. Please consider subscribing to that publication. It's a wonderful and honest publication. They are hard workers over there, and they tell you what's actually going on. Listen, Americans, listen, KCAA listeners. You can no longer rely on the mainstream media to get your information, to get the truth. You have to go to other sources to find out what is actually going on. So the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs is one of those publications where you can find the truth as to what is actually taking place in the Middle East, what is actually taking place in Israel, and what is actually taking place in Palestine. That's the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs. I think their website is WRMEA.org. Another sponsor is Playgrounds for Palestine. In fact, Susan Abulhawa is the founder of Playground for Palestine. They have been building playgrounds in the Middle East, in Lebanon, and in Palestine for Palestinian children. She's the founder. So I want to welcome Susan on to the program. Hi, Susan. How are you?
Hi, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is the peace talks that are going on. In fact, John Kerry just mentioned Friday, he just announced that Israel and Palestine will enter into peace talks again. They will resume peace talks next week in Washington, D.C. Give us your thoughts about that.
Oh God, Kathleen, it's just it's reached the level of the absurd. I'm not sure what exactly they're negotiating on. I mean, Israel at the moment has pushed Palestinians into less than 10% of our historic homeland, and within that 10%, they're still encroaching on that. They're still expanding settlements. They're still demolishing homes, still confiscating property. It's just, I mean, it's a joke. We can't really even call that a leadership that would, agree to any negotiations under those terms. We really do need to continue a revolutionary approach towards putting an end to this rapacious colonization that just really has been unrelenting since Israel was established. I mean, the thing is, though, they've made no secret about their intentions to take Palestine from the Mediterranean to the Jordan River, and it baffles me and most Palestinians what it is we're supposed to be negotiating about when they've been very clear that they're not going to give up an inch of Palestine. I mean, ultimately, what it's going to be, this is something that's keeping the Palestinian Authority in their with their VIP passes and their Mercedes. Yeah.
Oh, did we lose you?
I'm here.
Oh, I thought we lose. Well, so yeah, let me talk to you. Let me ask you specifically, what do you think about Abbas agreeing to resume these talks? He has specifically said that this is a good thing, and they don't want to seem, he doesn't want the Palestinians to seem intransient, like they're not willing to negotiate for peace.
It's not a good thing. In fact, I think when you're being kicked off your land, when there is a program in place whose aim is to wipe you off the map, whose aim is to obliterate your society, you should be intransigent. You should be defiant. You should be resisting by any means available to you. You should not be sitting down to beg for crumbs with your oppressors. The whole idea of an oppressed, violated, occupied people, of sitting down to negotiate for freedom with their oppressors, their violators, is absurd. It defies logic. It's kind of like, an enslaved human being being asked to negotiate with his slave master for, I don't know what it is we're negotiating for. It's not freedom. It's not self-determination. Maybe it's a nicer road or a better, a more efficient checkpoint or something like that. But it really denigrates this national struggle for self-determination. Mm-hmm. Our cause is a national liberation movement. In my opinion, this is not something that is achievable through negotiations, particularly when the other party is so much more powerful, so profoundly powerful, and so profoundly racist, that so profoundly hates us and wants to see us gone.
And supported by the U.S.
Precisely, supported by the only superpower. Palestinians, we are a principally unarmed, defenseless civilian population. So, on the one hand, one can say, well, what else are we going to do? We've got this military monstrosity that's backed by the biggest, the superpower in the world, and then with the acquiescence of Europe and so forth. So, it's this sort of defeatist mentality that I think is driving these negotiations. It's like, okay, well, let's just get whatever crumbs we can. And it's an unfortunate mentality because I don't believe that we're powerless. I believe that, in fact, we're very powerful. We have truth and justice on our side. And, historically speaking, looking at other struggles throughout history, that is not a power to be taken lightly, especially since, we do have a boycott movement and a global movement that is really gaining a lot of momentum. that's really exposing the apartheid nature of Israel, that's exposing the barbarism of this occupation and this imperialism by a movement that was born in Europe. I mean, there's there's a website called the African Holocaust Society that labels Zionism as another face of white supremacy, and I believe that. Zionism is a movement that was born in Europe to Europeans, and its principal aim is to establish a state that is homogeneously Jewish, that brings Jews from all over the world, who have no familial connection, no personal relevance to that land, and to kick the natives out. I mean, that's the definition of imperialism, and I think that the world is slowly starting to see that, and unfortunately, we have a leadership that doesn't recognize that people power that's available to us.
I wonder why that is, though. Do you know? I mean, why is the leadership so disconnected from the reality on the ground?
Kathleen, I don't know, but I think this is it's not an unusual phenomenon where you have, a formerly revolutionary movement that gets to power and suddenly becomes a bureaucratic institution that is a drag on its people, that actually hinders national liberation. I don't understand it. I don't understand what it is that puts out, that revolutionary fire that strives towards justice, that thing that upholds, the moral imperative above expediency, political expediency. So I can't answer that. I can't look into their hearts and understand why that is. But I can judge it as being extremely detrimental to our cause.
But and it's actually historically it's actually quite typical, I think. Once you have freedom fighters or people on the grassroots folks with sort of an idealistic, I don't want to say the term, but a heartfelt and sincere effort to gain rights. But once they get in the system, they have to compromise and they have to sort of give up a lot of what they believed in before. I mean, we saw that in Egypt, did we not? Yeah.
Yeah. To some extent, this is by design. The structure of power sort of it understands this, and like for example, Abbas is he's brought in. There's all these allures of big aid packages. The thing with Kerry, they promised the PA this huge aid package if they would just sit down and negotiate. And there's sort of this short-sightedness maybe that occurs, and if we, this aid will really help do this and that, and in the meantime, there's this lack of comprehension almost of what they're giving up, and what they're giving up is our national dignity, our the righteousness of this cause, but maybe sometimes it's bread and butter that they're thinking about for their people, or maybe they're thinking about fattening up their own accounts. I'm not really sure, but like I said, I don't believe in negotiating with Israel. I think that we should, as a people, maintain a national resistance toward Israel, towards this, this colonization, this, which is ultimately just destroying our society. I mean, we are an ancient society that has lived there for millennia, and European Jews came and said, "Oh, well, we're the indigenous people because hey, there were Jews here 3,000 years ago." Well, it's true there were Jews there 3,000 years ago. In fact, they remain there, And there were Jews in Egypt for thousands of years, even longer. There were Jews in Iraq that still remain there for thousands. In fact, that's where the longest, continuously, largest Jewish community in the world is in Iraq. But that doesn't mean that European Jews or Russian Jews get to come and kick Egyptian Muslims and Christians out and take their place, or Iraqi Muslims and Christians. It just doesn't work that way. This whole premise that this God as a real estate agent and the Bible as a property deed, is so absurd, and it's, but yet somehow, and this really just blows all logic out of the water. This is the argument that's been accepted, that somehow blue-eyed, blonde-haired people from Russia are the indigenous people of Palestine.
It's a complicated issue. We're going to take a break. When we come back from the break, I'd like you to inform me and inform listeners about the aid that Palestinians have been receiving from the West, because I don't know enough about it. So I'm talking to Susan Abulhawa, and we're talking about the peace talks that are going to resume next week, as we're told by Secretary of State Kerry. He's informed us that he announced that on Friday, that peace talks with Israel and Palestine will resume next week in Washington. We're going to continue talking about that, and we're going to talk about the aid that Palestine has received from the West when we come back from the break. We'll be right back.
This is a crime against humanity. Gods are turned into a prison camp.
Playgrounds for Palestine is a non-for-profit 501c3 organization dedicated to upholding the Palestinians' child's rights to play. This is a right enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. We operate through a volunteer board and staff, the generosity of our supporters, and a lot of heart. To date, Playgrounds for Palestine has constructed 15 playgrounds in Palestine, as well as refugee camps in Lebanon and Syria. To contribute to this most worldly cause, please go to our website at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org or send a check to Playgrounds for Palestine, P.O. Box 559, Yardley, Pennsylvania 19067 at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org.
Hi, this is Kathleen Wells, the host of Palestine Today. And Harry Fear and I, guess what? We need you, the public, who is listening to KCAA's Palestine Today, to donate. We must pay for our airtime. We are volunteer hosts. Please go to my website, thekathleenwellsshow.com, click on the donate button, and donate to Palestine Today. Your generosity will help to keep the show on the air. Without it, we cannot keep the show on the air. So, no matter how small or how large, please make a donation. We need you, the public who's listening to Palestine Today, to make a contribution, to make a donation, to tell us, yes, that you like this show and you want Palestine Today to continue. So don't forget, thekathleenwellsshow.com. Make a donation. We're counting on you.
Are you fascinated by the Middle East, but worried that U.S. foreign policy may lead yet to another war? Do you care about civil rights? For the past 30 years, the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs has brought its readers the real news, minus the corporate media spin. Read about Palestinians trying to survive the world's largest occupation. Learn how your hard-earned tax dollars fund that illegal occupation. Find out how much your members of Congress has received from pro-Israel PACs, and much, much more. Visit the Washington Report's website, www.wrmea.org, or call 888-881-5861 to request a free sample copy. Better yet, subscribe. It's only $29 for 9 issues. Mention Palestine Today and get a bonus gift.
Thank you for keeping it tuned to KCAA Radio. AM 1050 gives you all the information you need to know and maybe just a little bit more.
So many years of catastrophe, more than 6 million refugees. It could be you and your family, forced from your home and your history.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
Welcome back to Palestine Today. I'm speaking with Susan Abulhawa, who is a Palestinian-American writer and political commentator. She is the author of the 2010 international bestseller novel, Mornings in Jenin. And she's the daughter of Palestinian refugees of the 1967 war. She grew up in Kuwait, Jordan, East Jerusalem, and the United States. And she is also the founder of Playgrounds for Palestine, which is a sponsor of this show and my Wednesday show. So I'm absolutely delighted to have Susan on to speak with me, to inform me, and to inform KCAA listeners. So, Susan, I want to ask you, talk to me about the aid that Palestine has received to the West and how that has been sort of a double-edged sword, or how do I want to put it? Like, when you get a gift, but it's really not a gift. What is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, aid is one of the ways in which the West really manipulates other nations. And it's certainly been, one of the ways in which they have kept the Palestinian Authority in line. So, I mean, this latest coup for getting the negotiations, I think, probably has a lot to do with an aid package that Kerry announced for the Palestinian Authority that would cut unemployment, etc. The problem is, and this is something that makes the Palestinian Authority looks good. It it helps them win elections and what have you. But it's really it's silly because what's the Palestinian Authority has no authority. I mean, they are doing Israel's bidding. They're providing the police force to. They're not protecting Palestinians. They're protecting Israel. So. I think that this aid is one of the things that sort of made Abbas acquiesce. The other thing is that it really destroys the society in a lot of ways. It makes you aid dependent. So, for example, Israel, Palestinian society largely was made up of Fallahin, who are a very agrarian sector of Palestinian society. And, farming is an important way of life. Well, as Israel is confiscating all of our farmland, entire families, generations of farmers, Fallahin, are finding themselves without their land that had been in their families for hundreds of years. And so then Europe and the U.S. offer these farmers so-called aid, which is it's a little bit of money every month that keeps them just hovering, teetering on the poverty line, but just keeps them quiet. So now you have this very old generation, long-running family of farmers that suddenly is penniless, landless, and completely dependent on a few dollars a month from the U.S. So they don't say anything. Do you see what I mean? This is how it destroys societies. The other thing is they set up all these NGOs that and they give aid to these NGOs, but the aid is contingent on so many rules associated with getting this aid, with getting funding. And some of these are, well, you can't talk to this political group, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't do that. So then it's in order to get this aid to build like a water treatment something, and you have to cut ties, and you have to the society gets broken up in a lot of ways. So it's just really duplicitous and really destructive to the society. And another thing is that they take the best minds away from Palestinian startups. So Palestinians starting businesses that are really innovative and culturally relevant end up not being able to recruit real talent because that talent is because they're going to pay local wages, whereas the NGOs are paying slightly higher wages but there's all these, conditions attached to it. So that's another one of the effects. But the bottom line is that they turn a once proud, functioning society into a people who are dependent on aid in order to survive. Mm-hmm. So that's what's happening.
Yeah, and this is by design. It's intentional. Believe me,
Completely.
I know. Yeah, it's by design. It's intentional to keep you in a sort of subjugated position, a powerlessness position, to lack the ability to be in a position where you can be self-determinative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, it's not unique to Palestinians.
No, it's not unique.
You can find examples of that here in the United States, all the ways in which certain, minority communities are by design kept, ignorized and powerless. And you see it in imperialist infrastructures throughout Africa, and Latin America before, we had the socialist Bolivarian revolution there.
Yeah.
So,
mm-hmm. Well, and it's this cycle that just persists, and we're talking about hundreds of years of this oppression, where you have some in power and then the ones without power. And the position that, just now that we had the Zimmerman verdict, the position that many want people to take is that, well, we shouldn't discuss it, or you've talked about it too much. And
you can't talk about it enough.
Yeah, you can't talk about it enough until you're free.
Exactly.
Until you're no longer oppressed. Talk about it forever and a day until the situation is no longer where you are oppressed. People want to be self-determined. They want to have equal access. I mean, and the idea that we call ourselves a democracy, and in fact, that's ironic because Israel says she's the only democracy in the Middle East. What do you think about that?
Oh, please. What's so democratic about occupation? What's so democratic about having separate buses and separate roads, or a multi-tiered legal system that's applied according to one's religion? There's nothing democratic about that. A democracy for Jews is an oxymoron. That's South Africa, apartheid South Africa, called itself a democracy too. So it was a democracy for white people. With the majority of the people completely disenfranchised, and that's how it is in Israel. It's silly.
Mm-hmm. So explain to listeners how Americans are supporting through their tax dollars, they're supporting this oppression of the Palestinian people, and also talk to us about how there is a Hasbara campaign to improve the image of Israel that is taking place in the West.
Well, in terms of our tax dollars, that's multiple shows, and that will fill volumes. But the bottom line is the United States gives there's a long-standing sort of aid package that's around $4 billion a year that goes to Israel. That doesn't include the multitude of gifts, that they get from the military, from this or that. It doesn't include all the tax-deductible donations that go to settlements and the construction of settlements, which are illegal under international law and even, illegal under or unrecognized by the United States as well. But, American tax donations go there. There are always all kinds of special business cooperations, exemptions for Israel that aren't, allowed for any other country in the world. There are always special grant projects with universities and so forth. Like a lot of times, and this all happens through backdoor deals. There's examples of, universities that'll get certain funding if an Israeli company is allowed to partner with them and things like that. I mean, there's just so much. So that's just the financial aspect, which actually, it totals around approximately $10,000 per person per year, per Israeli per year. That's what we're giving, and that's what we're giving Israel annually while we're shutting down our schools here. And but that doesn't even include of course, the political cover that we provide for Israel. There are about 200 UN resolutions criticizing Israel. We've not tried to uphold one of them, and then that's in the General Assembly. In the Security Council, we have vetoed nearly every UN resolution that has come forth trying to hold Israel accountable for massive war crimes. So basically, we give them money to continue these apartheid policies, and in these war crimes, and then we veto any resolution when the rest of the world is sick of this and wants to put an end to it. So we let them do what they want with impunity. And the irony is that, all of these settlements, for example, that Israel builds, these Jewish-only settlements, the Israeli-only roads, etc., we're helping finance these. And yet we are a country that fought a civil war and struggled through a civil rights movement and is still struggling for equality under the law. And yet, we profess to believe in that ideal, and yet we are financing and promoting precisely the opposite in Israel, which is a system of exclusivity. It's a system that provides privilege to a select group of people based on some inherent arbitrary measure. In the case of Israel, it's religion. In the case of apartheid South Africa, it was skin color. Same here. So, this is why this is the principal example of hypocrisy that the world cites. When it comes to the United States, although there are plenty more examples. So, the other part of your question was about the Hasbara campaign. With the emergence of the internet and then social media, Israel has had a much harder time covering up their crimes. It's a lot easier for Palestinians with a handheld mobile, for example, to film human rights abuses and so forth, and then put them in a venue where the whole world has access to it. So this has been an alarming thing for Israel because it's making people realize, hey, wait a minute, this isn't the moral army you've been telling us about. You're not the democracy that you've been telling us about, and you're not at all what you want us to believe you are. So these are things that have made the boycott campaign successful, and it's growing. It's a lot of major personalities have signed on to the boycott. Just today, Mira Nair, the director and producer of Monsoon Wedding and other well-known films, has joined the boycott. She refused an invitation to a Haifa Film Festival, saying that she will visit Israel when they end their apartheid. Of course, there's Stephen Hawking, Alice Walker, Cynthia McKenney, Desmond Tutu. Of course, all of these major personalities, Myreed McGuire, have signed on to this international boycott, which is similar to the boycott that was instituted against the apartheid government in South Africa. And so in order to counter this growing, unveiling of Israel, they are investing in this multi-million dollar campaign, Hasbara campaign, to, quote, improve Israel's image. And they hire, I think it's like 9 PR firms in the United States to lobby editors, to lobby magazines, and to try and get content or remove content in U.S. media and so forth. So this is a really active PR campaign. It's been going on since the inception of Israel, but it's really been stepped up recently because of the growing boycott campaign. Another thing that they're doing, actually, I was just reading about this, is targeting traditionally African American universities, taking leaders in these universities and taking them on all expense paid trips to Israel, wining and dining them, taking them, giving them access in Capitol Hill to Washington and so forth. And they're doing that in order to use African Americans as a moral cover, essentially, towards the growing accusation of apartheid. So they're really active. They're always active. They're always doing this, and but you know, they're having a hard time whitewashing, pinkwashing, and greenwashing their crimes. Just today, I posted on Facebook an article showing Israeli soldiers who are recruited from other countries to sort of go and fight and kill Palestinians. But they were this article showed a Facebook post that these soldiers had put up. They were having Rachel Corrie pancakes. Rachel Corrie was the American activist who was bulldozed. She was she was run over by a bulldozer, and the sick joke of this is that they're having pancakes that are flattened. Like Rachel Corrie was.
That's so disgusting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is endemic. This really betrays the ethos of the Israeli military.
Uh-huh.
There's this level of gratuitous violence that runs through the military, and these are the people who are controlling Palestinian lives. I mean, we've all been subjected to it at one point or another at a checkpoint. You are completely at the mercy of these racist, testosterone-ridden, young Israeli men who your life is at their mercy, basically. They feel like slapping you around. They feel like having fun with you. They feel like making you take your clothes off and do whatever. Then, you can't, there's not a damn thing you can do. You are at their mercy. And there are about 900 of these checkpoints throughout Palestinian territories.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, Susan, I want to thank you for being on. I want to go to the second segment now, but now I definitely want you to come on the Wednesday show. I've neglected to have you on my Wednesday show, so I want to extend an invitation. I want to extend an invitation for you to come on my Wednesday show. Will you accept?
Oh, I would love to, Kathleen. I'm like a big follower of yours. You're like one of the few people whose posts I like, I have starred and I read every day everything you post.
Isn't that? Oh, I love to hear that. I mean, because I know I have those that think I'm like, too out there. I'm putting it mildly.
I love it. I love it. We need more people who have the courage to say the stuff you do. So.
Thank you, Susan. So Susan Abulhawa is a Palestinian-American writer and political commentator, and she's the author of the best-selling novel, Mornings in Jenin. So is there any website you want to give out to people so that they can look at some of your stuff?
Sure. There's playgroundsforpalestine.org and, morningsinjenin.com. So I'm not so sophisticated with anything else. So.
Okay, Susan, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And I'll be talking to you about coming on the Wednesday show so we can delve deeper into this Israel-Palestine issue and talk about the peace talks in more detail. Thank you very much, Susan. Now we're going to go to Hesham. Please don't kill me. For mispronouncing your name. Hi, Hesham. Hesham.
Yeah, the guiding light. Hesham, yeah.
The guiding light. You're talking to us from Alexandria, Egypt, and you want to talk to us about the fact that President Morsi has been ousted now by the Egyptian people and what that means in terms of the Gaza border.
Okay. Of course, it will be a hard task to speak after such a well-spoken person like Miss Susan Abulhawa. She actually explained everything in quite good details in regard of the situation in Palestine right now. But let us see from the other point of view, especially regarding Gaza Strip, which is just to run the thing fast enough. Since the Hamas took over Gaza and the Israelis has closed down the crossings, the legal crossings between Gaza and the Palestinian authorities in the West Bank and Israel as well, there has been a problem in the area in regard of supplies and medical supplies and stuff like that. The issue of making tunnels between Gaza and Egypt in order to smuggle goods into Gaza is not acceptable. It can't be done with any country. No country in the world would accept such a situation. The way we see it in Egypt is Hamas should go back to the normal situation where Palestine was one country run by normal institutes like police and stuff like that, armies, and it's not right. What Hamas has done, separating Gaza from the Palestine country, is not correct. And we can't be blamed on the closing of the crossings between Gaza and Israel and the West Bank. And look at the situation from our point of view. Our national security is in jeopardy. We don't know what is being smuggled in or out of Sinai. The situation is being really under a lot of stress from our part. We have terrorists coming in. We have guns being smuggled to the territory and to the strip, Gaza Strip. And we have no control in the area because of the tunnel. All we are asking here in Egypt is for them to have peace with themselves first. Hamas should go back and they should have re-elections in Gaza and Palestine. They should re-elect their members in the parliament. They should, whoever gets the majority should put the government on and stuff like that. And from our point of view, there should no reason whatsoever to blame us on the situation that we are closing down the tunnels. I would like to hear someone in the States saying, okay, we will allow the Mexicans or the Canadians to dig tunnels between the two countries and allow for guns and smugglers to go back and forth freely. I hope this is understandable between any two normal countries.
Yeah, but is that an apt characterization or comparison rather? Because you just heard, Susan, Palestine is in dire straits. They have been sort of put into such an oppressive situation that it's just it's absolute madness. That's their point of view.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree completely. I understand. I understood every word she said.
Yeah.
My compassion was the Palestinians. I lost a father in that case for Palestine. I lost uncles. I lost friends for Palestine. I'm still willing to lose my own life for Palestine. I don't mind really. But what is right should be right. This is the issue of the entire world, not us. Why blame us on trying to protect our borders? Why blame us on telling them, no, you cannot borrow tunnels that we have no control of between under our land? We have no control. We don't know what's going on. Our goods and dire needed materials are being smuggled to the other side without us knowing what's going on. What is stopping Hamas from doing a re-election in Gaza and Palestine? What's stopping Hamas from doing a peace talk with the Palestinian Authority and Abbas to find out exactly what their next step should be? Why Hamas is not blaming Israel for the situation they are in now? Why the whole world is not standing by the Palestinians?
But Suzanne just explained to us how complicated it is and how the Palestinian... Oops, did I lose you?
No, it is complicated. I understand. I heard her. She's right. I understand completely. Yeah.
Okay, but so we can't solve it. So let me ask you this question. Talk to us about You're speaking to us from Alexandria, Egypt. Talk to us about the situation that is going on right now in Egypt with the ousting of President Morsi. What is the situation there in Egypt now?
Okay, the Muslim Brotherhood are trying to show the world that the Egyptians are split on between two factions, for Morsi and against Morsi, or for MB and against MB, Muslim Brotherhood. We are not split on that. There is no split on this. Egyptians are against Muslim Brotherhood and Morsi. They gave us a hell in 1 year. We found out that they are inefficient. They have no idea how to rule a country, especially a country so complicated like Egypt, in a region so complicated as the Middle East. We ousted them just for that. It has nothing to do with Islam. It has nothing to do with religion. And that's what the picture they are trying to show the world and their people, that the uprising against them was against Islam. Now, the situation in the street is they are demonstrating. They are being cornered in two places in Cairo and Giza, which is two places in Cairo, mainly the greater Cairo. But the situation is as follows. MBs are in complete denial of what happened in Egypt. They can't see the picture. They can't see that the Egyptians have rejected them. So all what they are trying to do really is making it an issue. We are not leaving. We are staying on the scene. We want Morsi back. And we are trying to explain to them that it won't happen. The people ousted Morsi because he can't drive. He can't lead. He can't make decisions. He doesn't know how to lead a country like Egypt. That's it. And they keep on demonstrating and telling us we are not going off the streets till Morsi comes back, and that's not going to happen.
Well,
back to you, Kathleen.
Well, is Egypt going to devolve into civil war? And there are pro-Morsi factions, groups that say that Egyptians have now sort of slapped the face of democracy by ousting President Morsi, who was democratically elected.
Okay. What is democracy, by the way? How you define democracy? How the West, Americans define democracy? What is democracy anyway? Isn't it the word of the people being seen to somebody to power? I mean, isn't it the people votes that take someone to power? Isn't that democracy? I mean, maybe what did I miss here? It is the people who brought Morsi to power who said, okay, no, we don't want you in power anymore. It's the same thing. It's Morsi was elected by 12 million votes. 22 million people said we don't want Morsi back in power. So, I mean, this is democracy. He has been voted in and he has been voted out.
But you didn't vote him out by ballot, by elections. I mean, there wasn't elections held to oust him. You know, people just took to the streets.
This is election. I mean, we all signed a paper, and those papers were put in boxes saying we are fed of him. We don't want him anymore. It's the same thing. It's the voice of the people. The situation in Egypt, really, I mean, look, if you look at us from our point of view, I mean, we are very, very old people. We are the oldest central government in the whole world. We know things. We know how to do it. If you mess with us, we mess with you. So, yes, we voted him out. The army is, for people who are saying it was a military coup, it wasn't. The army is working for us. The army is part of this country. We call it the People's Army. Well, we ordered the army to do our bidding. That's like 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Well, is Egypt on the verge of devolving into civil war?
No, not at all. It's civil war is between two factions of the same of people, right? I mean, say like in the States, for example, it's between North and South. Mm-hmm. In Syria, between cults and factions of the Syrian people, between Sunnah and Shia, or between whatever. Here in Egypt, we don't have that. So it's between the Egyptians and the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood, we consider them as some sort of a gang. It's a mob. There are 300,000 people in the whole country, which we are 90 million people, and we are all against them. We are cornered. They don't know it yet, I guess. They are in denial. In a few weeks, they will just understand that it's done. It's done. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, we have a real anti-terrorist war in Sinai. The army is going through a real war in there to eliminate all terrorists. Who needs terrorists on his country? Who needs terrorists? Al-Qaeda and Taliban and those horrible names. Who needs them? Who needs people killing people on religion based theories and crazies? We don't want them. We voted them out, and that's it. No civil war, nothing. There will be nothing. We will leave them demonstrating for another week or two, and then we will send them home.
Well, Hesham, I know that you're on a commission that will be involved with drafting the new constitution for Egypt. And so what I've gotten from what you told me about the Gaza border is that it doesn't look very good for Palestinians.
It doesn't. I understand. We are trying to figure something out. I promise you that. The thing is, I hope everybody hears me about this. There has to be a solution, not through tunneling. Not. This is not going to be acceptable, and it's not going to be left alone.
Well, the Palestinians are between a rock and a hard place, it sounds like to me. It's a no-win situation for them.
Yes. They have to solve their problems, too. They have to sit together and find out a solution for their own. And we will help them as much as we can. And to the... I tell you right now on air, and I hope Mrs. Abulhawa can hear me, we are willing to do our best for the Palestinian people to solve their problem. We are willing very much to aid them in any way to get this over with. We will do our best. We will give our best advice, but no more tunnels. We cannot take this. This is not acceptable anymore. No tunneling, no arms smuggling or goods or whatever. They should come and sit with us and tell us exactly what we are going to do, what they want to do. We don't, by the way, just for the record, I don't accept Gaza to be split from Palestine. This is another issue that has to be discussed. Gaza shouldn't be another country. I mean, Palestine is one country for us. We look forward to the day they form their own country, their own central government that rules all over Palestine, united, one country Palestine. But the issue of Gaza being separated or split from the mainland of Palestine to be another country called Gaza or Hamas or whatever is not acceptable.
Okay.
It's not acceptable.
Well, that's something that I'll want to discuss with Suzanne, the idea that Gaza is separated from the rest of Palestine. Well, I want to thank you, Hesham, for taking the time to be my guest today. And, you're always welcome to be on my Wednesday show because we want to talk about Egypt in more depth, right?
I'll be honored. And I would like to hear Mrs. Abulhawa one more time because I really enjoyed her speech today.
Okay, we got 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Thank you, Hesham. I'll talk to you off air.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Palestine.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We'll
Bye.
see you next week on Palestine Today. Thank you very much.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 a.m., the station that leaves no listener behind.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Chris Earl Phillips. For this afternoon, 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, partly sunny and a high near 94. Tonight, 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy, low around 71. On Sunday, 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, partly sunny and a high near 92. Sunday night, 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms before 11, mostly cloudy, low around 72. On Monday, mostly sunny and a high of 90. That's your weather forecast for this hour from the station that leaves no listener behind. NBC News Radio, AM 1050 KCAA.
This is the KCAA Community Calendar. Knott's Family Agency hosts their annual Summer Soiree Jazz and Wine Tasting Under the Stars at Edwards Mansion in Redlands on Saturday, August 17th at 7 p.m. Tickets are $40 per person. Knott's Family Agency works with the Department of Children and Family Services, both in San Bernardino and Riverside, to identify homes and families for foster children of all ages. Proceeds will help local foster children experience cultural enrichment in activities such as sports, book clubs, music lessons, music festivals, trips to museums and art galleries. That's the Knott's Family Agency annual Summer Soiree Jazz and Wine Tasting Under the Stars, Saturday, August 17th at 7 p.m. at the Edwards Mansion in Redlands. For more information, please call Sandy at 909-880-0600 or go online to knottsfamilyagency.org. And that's your KCAA Community Calendar.
Living the